Very first time on a Samsung Flip can close without a gap, and this is a big deal. Because it's not just that it looks better and it's a less weird shape and it takes up less space, but it also creates less room for rogue particles and pocket dust to just find their way inside.
A new and improved hinge that's smaller in every dimension and actually has less moving parts. It's simpler, which should help with everyday durability, and it now allows the phone to fold completely flat.
Like on the Fold model, so has the hinge with the tolerance now and the tightness on the new one. I mean, it's hard to imagine that you could get it any tighter.
Samsung has gotten rid of the gaps, so it folds down a little bit smaller, a little thinner, and is less likely to catch any dust or debris on the inside because it's flat. But also has a new hinge, and I don't think that should be underrated. Like, that's clearly one of the most important parts of a folding phone. So the fact that it now is slightly thinner and slightly more durable and folds completely flat.
The device itself as a whole has become significantly thinner, particularly when placed on a table. You can see how much bigger, especially if we go back to back here, this hinge elevates a little bit higher. Now is the 4, and here we have the 5. And the most striking thing immediately is just how tight they've made that gap, or lack of a gap, compared to the previous generation.
The screen is now big enough though to get a full QWERTY keyboard on, which means you can also message. It's a little fiddly, but completely usable with one hand, which is a luxury that I'd almost forgotten was even possible. There's still a crease on this main display. They say it's improved, but it's still very noticeable. And then while this inner panel is a 120Hz display that can ramp its refresh rate all the way down to 1 Hz, the cover screen, which is my other gripe, is locked at 60. And so what this means is that even when you're trying to use it in this super low power, always on state, this inner screen is now 25% more resistant to scratches. And the outer body is protected by Armor Aluminium and Gorilla Glass Victus 2, which I'm told has the strength of ceramic.
But the main upgrade is definitely the larger outside screen. So this is something that's slowly, steadily been getting bigger and bigger with each generation. The Z Flip 4, you might remember, had the biggest yet. That was a 1.9-inch cover display. This one is graduating up to a 3.4-inch flex window.
It's not exactly a rectangle. It actually has a little curvature to it around this camera section in order to accommodate those external cameras. The other benefit with the Flip model, obviously we can use it as a kind of tripod situation where I can have this like this. Gets a much bigger external display.
Inside display is now actually much brighter. It gets up to 1750 nits, which is dramatically better than last year.
Handed keyboard functionality is still some of the best you're ever going to experience. And then obviously we flip it open or unfold it, and we've got this tablet-like experience on the inside of the device.
The outside screen is the same tall 6.2-inch cover display.
My own personal case, like the most used folding phone, well, that I've ever used.
Chip also has a slightly tweaked image signal processor, which allows the phone to take the data from the camera and process it in a way that Samsung likes. And that is the final key upgrade, the cameras. Not so much in terms of hardware. I mean, there's a new lens that's a little bit clearer and reduces sun flares, but it's more the software.
That's all that's new. New cover screen, new chip, new hinge. Everything else from the camera is all the same as last year.
The camera layout. On the front, 10 megapixel selfie camera. On the rear, you've obviously got dual cameras, 12 megapixels apiece, one of them wide, the other ultra wide f2.2 and f1.8. The ultra wide is going to give you a field of view of 123 degrees, whereas the standard wide angle, 83.
The triple camera system on the back appears to be exactly the same hardware. The under display 4 megapixel selfie camera hidden in the big display is also exactly the same.
Now this one has a ton of cameras. We're talking about the cover camera, which is 10 megapixel selfie f2.2. You've got the under display camera in here on the inside. This is something that Samsung committed to on the previous generation.
The storage has doubled from 128 gigabytes to 256. The build, though, is a win. It's thinner, for starters, about 2 millimeters thinner when folded up.
It's all the same as last year, except except the base storage, because the $1,000 starting price now will get you 256 gigs of storage instead of 128.
To the Z Flip, it's two configurations, either 256 or 512 gigabytes. 6.7-inch FHD plus 120 hertz adaptive refresh. It will be 60 hertz and the PPI is 306.
Then the Z Fold5, the big dog, it also gets the new chip. It's also got Gorilla Glass Victus 2, and the battery size is the same, the charging speeds are the same, it's IPX8 water resistant again. The
7.6-inch QXGA plus with 120 hertz, 374 PPI on the internal display. On the exterior, we've got this really large 6.2-inch display, 402 PPI. So you're actually getting slightly higher resolution on this external display. It's obviously a little bit heavier, coming in at 253 grams.
This screen is refreshing like 60 times more than it needs to, so it wastes battery. The battery also benefits from this being a flip phone. I mean, it sounds bad on the face of it. This is a 3,700 mAh cell in a market full of phones packing 5,000. But thanks to efficiency improvements, you can get an extra hour versus last year's Flip 4. And if you are actually planning to use a good mix of both the inner screen and the outer screen, then because the outer screen is so small, you'll save a lot of battery there.
to the battery, to the charging speed, it's all the same as last year.
It's got 3,700 milliamp hour in terms of battery, and it can get a 50% charge in around 30 minutes using a 25-watt adapter.
The battery size is the same, the charging speeds are the same, it's IPX8 water resistant again.
The battery is another thing that's going to get bigger here, but it does have a 4,400 milliamp hour battery, and this one, just like the Flip, is going to recharge to 50% in about half an hour.
It's all about the personality. Samsung's not really trying to pitch this front screen as a way to quickly check things. It's more as a tool for self-expression, and that it achieves.
Immersiveness of having such a large display in your pocket.
There are three form factors that we've been settling on, which is the Flips, the Folds, and the others.